Today, we are going to look at 8 leadership characteristics of a godly woman. J. Martin acknowledges that there are other characteristics. However, she believes that the 8 leadership characteristics listed in Chapter 5 are unique to women. Let's begin with faithful in small things. We find in Matthew 25:14 through 30, the story of a man who is headed on a journey and entrusts his property to his servants. To one he gives 5 talents, to another 2, and the third just gets 1. The one who received 5 talents put his money to work for him and gained 5 more. The one with 2 talents gained 2 more. However, the man who just got 1 dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. When his master returned, he said to the ones who had doubled his money, "Well done, good and faithful servants. You were faithful over a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into your master's joy." To the one who had hidden the money, the master took the talent back and gave it to the one who had 10. For to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have more than enough. But from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. Jesus was clear that he would bless those who are faithful with small things. Just to chase a rabbit for a minute, I've often asked myself, why did the servant with the 1 talent go and bury it instead of trying to make something with it? I believe he was afraid of failure. We don't have to look very far in our churches to see people twiddling their thumbs, doing nothing in the church, even though the Bible tells us that all are given spiritual gifts and are to use their gifts. When confronted, these people seem to make excuses of all kinds, even the excuse that they have no gifts, which we know is not true. Another reason why the servant may not have made anything with his talent was inferiority. Some people simply do not think they have what it takes to do what it is that they should do. Another reason why the servant may have buried his talent was because he was lazy. They say that 20% of the church does 80% of the work. You've got your workers and you've got your pew warmers. Our second characteristic is passionate aim. Passion and purpose are things that only God can give. Effective women leaders are passionate and have a biblical direction to their passion. Passionate aim is something that God stirs deep within us. It is what drives us and motivates us. Passionate aim is who we are in Christ. It is the driving force behind what we do and why we do it. I once heard Max Lucado say, "If you want to know what your calling is, look at your passion. There you will find your calling." Our third characteristic is courageous risk-taking. In Joshua 1:3 through 9, we see that God told Joshua what God told Joshua. God told Joshua 3 times to be strong and courageous. God also told Joshua how to do this. First, to depend on God's faithfulness. Second, to stay in the Word. And third, remember that God will walk with us every step of the way. However, coupled with being courageous is being willing to take a risk at the right time. What will help us discern the right timing? Getting with God in His Word and through prayer. Our fourth characteristic is integrity. Integrity is something that comes from the inside and reaches to the outside. Integrity is the essence of purity. Integrity is when beliefs, morals, and ethics are integrated and are one. It is our character and who we really are. Integrity is what keeps us focused on living out God's truths in our lives. Decision making is number 5 of our leadership characteristics. Listen to Ephesians 4:14. Then we will no longer be little children tossed by the waves and blown around by every wind of teaching, by human cunning and cleverness and the techniques of deceit. I believe Jay Martin is talking about more than making decisions, as in deciding what Bible study to lead or what ministry project to do or where to go on a mission trip and so forth. Jay Martin is referring to confused, wishy-washy women. Women who will hear one idea and fly off with it until another one comes along that suits her fancy. Martin gives 3 examples of such women. 1, there are those who change their minds constantly. It has a lot to do with emotions and feelings. 2, many women tend to feel without thinking. They are impulsive. Such a woman may fail to get God's perspective on the situation because she is caught up in the emotion of the whole thing. And 3, the lack of self-esteem is a reason why women are wishy-washy. When women feel inadequate, they may change their minds with every passing wind. We must ask God to help us not to be tossed by the winds of fashion or the winds of the world, but to be led by the Spirit of God to please Him alone. When we tap into His purpose for our lives, we learn that we can be secure in Him. Our sixth characteristic is balance. The Proverbs 31 woman is a classic example of a well-balanced woman. To be balanced, we must make sure our priorities are in order and keep God's perspective at the forefront to make sure that we make the right decisions. Relational networking is the 7th leadership characteristic that Jay Martin discusses in our textbook. Women are relational people. For a woman to be a successful leader, to really make a difference, she has to value relationships and networking. Titus 2:3-5 is a great example of the value of female relationships and networking. In this passage, we see women engaged in one-on-one relationships as well as spiritual nurture in the church. Through relationships, we encourage one another, build one another up, teach, mentor, learn from one another, fellowship with one another, and the list goes on. And lastly, mentoring is a vital leadership characteristic to have. We must strive to find people to teach us, and we must strive to be mentors and encouragers to others who are coming behind us. Leading like a godly woman is something we have to strive daily to do. May God make us all into godly women leaders who can make a difference in the world in which He has placed us.